Hey everybody, this is Colin White from Martekrs with another Martech Minute. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Andrew Hally. He is the CMO of Allego. They are a sales learning platform. Thanks for joining me today, Andrew.
Good to be here, Colin.
All right, great. So, sales learning platform. Why don't you give us the quick pitch? What does that involve?
Sure. I think it's really pretty simple. Our goal is to do a better job getting salespeople the skill and knowledge they need to win each and every opportunity. You've been pretty familiar through your career with helping salespeople. And you know, sales is getting harder and harder, right? The buyers, they've got the internet, social media. They no longer rely on salespeople for, baseline information. So the window that salespeople have to engage buyers and to, deliver value, to convey value, it's shrinking, right? So the bar is going up and up and up and up. But at the same time, what companies do to prepare salespeople for success really hasn't changed very much. The model is still the same way it's been for decades upon decades. So there's a real mismatch between it's getting harder and harder to sell, but we're really not doing a lot better of a job helping people to sell.
Right. Yeah, I can remember from my Oracle days actually in product marketing there, and we would have these, these sales kickoffs definitely once a year, more likely every quarter, where you'd fly everybody into a location and, every product marketing person for the different product sets would give their pitch, and you just had a feeling that it was just going in one ear and out the other. So how does your platform kind of help with that problem?
That's exactly right. I mean, that's the classic model, and we've really, as an industry, not done much more than kind of tinker with that model a little bit, and it doesn't work very well. Let me paint a different picture, if you will, but it's not so much from sales training. So if I'm not mistaken, you are a fellow mountain biker, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Now, have you gone to tubeless tires on your bike yet?
I have not. No.
Okay. So I'm a real geek with this stuff. So I've gone to tubeless tires. So we no longer have tubes inside the tires, which lets you run lower pressure, and it's just better, I'm told, but it's probably just a bunch of marketing, right? So I got these tubeless tires, and but if you blow a tire out in the woods, you can no longer replace the tube, so you're kind of stuck that way. But one of my fellow mountain bikers, who's even more of a gear geek than me, told me you should get a patch kit. There's a way to kind of plug a tire. So I said, okay, I got one of those. So a peer told me I've got this tool now. I've been carrying that thing around in my bike backpack for quite some time now. Well, finally, 2-3 months ago, I'm biking in a place called Vietnam, and I come off onto a sharp rock, and I pop this tubeless mountain bike tire and lose all my air, and I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. So I've got those. So I'm like, I've got this thing that I need, this plug kit. I pull it out, I open it up, and it's got all these pieces in it. I have no idea how to use it.
No idea, right? Yeah.
You guess what I did? What do you think I did?
Played around with it until you figured it out?
Nope. I got my mobile phone, I opened it up, went to YouTube, and I typed in tubeless tire plug kit. And like 5 or 6 videos come up, 5 or 6 different ones. And I watch a quick video, about 1.5 minutes, of how you actually use this thing. Pretty straightforward. And then I knew how to do it. I plugged my tire. It worked, pumped it back up, went on riding my very way.
What if you had not been in an area that had a cell phone signal, though?
Well, if I had Allego, actually, which can work online or offline, it would have been okay. But I did have a cell phone signal.
Okay.
But that story, kind of the point is that, whereas you described that Oracle model of how we prepare salespeople with knowledge today within the work realm, and it's been the same way for 30 years, contrast that to how we find out things that we need, like that peer telling me about I should get this plug kit. And then my training myself, I didn't look through who reads manuals anymore when you first get it? You never do that. You throw them somewhere, right? You learn on demand when you need it. So I taught myself how to use that plug kit when I needed to use that plug kit, which was when my tire was flat in the middle of the woods. Furthermore, I did it, with a mobile phone. I didn't have some big manual to look for. I looked at a video, which took about a minute, right? And then, so I think that is a better representation of the way we could be empowering sales folks with knowledge, the training, and the skills of what to do. Not this big bang model that you described, which is, like you said, you fly everybody in, for at once. You pump them full of knowledge all at once, right? So it's a huge amount of knowledge to try to cram it into the brain at once. Then you go home. There's no other work on that knowledge, right? So it immediately starts to be forgotten. I don't know if you're familiar with this concept called the forgetting curve. It's pretty well established. But once you get exposed to knowledge, if you don't get re-exposed to it, i.e. study it like you do in school, that knowledge decays. Within 30 days, you've probably forgotten about 80% of it. I mean, the brain is designed to forget things because we get exposed to so much. It's only the things that we get repeatedly exposed to or that we practice that we actually retain.
Yeah.
So that model doesn't work. That fly everybody in, pump you through knowledge. It's too much knowledge. It gets forgotten. Who knows if it's the right knowledge? Like you said, every product manager gets there 10 minutes. You gotta, since this is your one shot of training the sales team, you gotta train them on everything just in case they need it.
Right.
Contrast that with the notion that, if we're learning the way I was learning in the woods, using mobile, using video, it can be much more on demand. I can learn how to handle a certain situation, how to pitch a certain product right when I need it. I'm highly motivated to learn how to pitch that product if I'm about to meet a customer who's interested in that product, right? So you're much more motivated. You're learning right when you need it, just that right amount. It's through video, which is a much more effective medium than just looking through documents. And one other kind of key piece to it, Colin, no offense to you and to me as marketers, but in most cases, salespeople are not quite as interested in hearing from you and I about how to sell something. They're much more interested in hearing from their peer.
Right.
They want to hear from that woman who made $1 million in commission last year selling that product at Oracle. She knows how to handle an objection, right, that may be encountered in the field much better than you or I ever would. So the sales learning platform for Allego, it's much more, it's mobile. It's not big bang, but it's rather kind of continuous, and you learn really when you need things. The learning gets reinforced so that you actually drive it into long-term memory and can then use the learning, in a customer conversation versus racking your brain for that presentation you saw 9 months ago. And it's peer-oriented. It's super easy for me not just to watch a video in the field, but after I have a customer call and I learn something new from a competitor, 2 buttons, I record in 15 seconds what it is I learned about that, boom, I'm done. That field knowledge instantly gets out to my fellow sellers. So it's peer, it's mobile, it's video oriented, it's much more on demand, just like the way we use technology in our everyday life. So it's just a very different model for sales learning.
Yeah, and coaching, I think, is become more important recently. I think, especially in the high-tech space where you and I operate, let's look at SDRs, for example. I mean, SDRs, every high-tech company has an SDR team now. They're usually pretty inexperienced when you get them on board, and they only usually stick around for it's getting shorter every year for only up to about 18 months. So getting them onboarded and productive is just critical. So how does the Allego platform help onboard new reps?
Yeah, so onboarding is absolutely, one of the 2 or 3 most common use cases that our customers use Allego for, along with like launching a new product. I mean, onboarding is a classic case where, and we've seen a lot of success helping clients with that. So I don't know if you know Aptio, they're a software company out in the Seattle area. They've brought the time that it takes a rep to get to, their metric is time to first deal close. Okay. They brought that down from 9 months down to about 5 months. So those are field salespeople, not ADRs. But the point is, when you bring better technology to it, you really can dramatically shrink that onboarding time, as well as reduce the number of washouts or identify people who aren't going to be a fit earlier anyway. So it's a great use case. And a couple of different things that companies have used Allego to reduce that for a couple different ways. One real interesting one is if you move away from that model of having to start onboarding with a boot camp, right? Like I don't know how often, you did boot camp, but typically it's, maybe it's once a quarter. It's rarely once a year. That's too often. But for a sizable company, it's a boot camp kind of once a quarter. So right there, if you hire somebody, they might be sitting around for 1 to 3 months before they really
Right.
get any sort of training and ability. So the clock isn't even starting. Versus if you've got more, if you're using a platform like Allego, where a lot of the courseware, is in the platform, and in Allego, kind of going through a course, it's really kind of like going through a playlist, right? You're getting stepped through a series of assets of videos where you're learning the various things, and with quizzes at the right point. But you can start that right away rather than waiting for that next boot camp. So that's one element that makes it faster. We also typically, our customers, they'll cut down the time that they have the boot camp, usually from, like, say, 2 weeks down to 1 week. So there's a nice kind of cost savings there as well. And if you're teaching something that's not new hires, that's 1 week less out of the field, which is nice as well. And then finally, a key piece of it is that is when you're trying to jam a lot of new knowledge into somebody, we really with Allego, you can really take the 80-20 rule. What is that 20% of knowledge that you're going to use on 80% of your calls? And you can really take the time to focus on that knowledge, to practice it. That's a key thing here, is practice, not just read it or watch it, take a quiz, but practice it. Reps can see what good looks like when they're getting onboarded. So who's a rep that's really good at giving the pitch? Or maybe it's the sales manager, whatever. They give the pitch, it's recorded, that ADR candidates and their onboarding, they can watch that, and then they record themselves practicing. Just like we're recording this thing here with Allego, they record it, and they see, was I able to deliver well? And almost every time what happens is you record it, you look at yourself, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
God, you get that cringe. So, we look, reps on average practice 6 or 7 times before they say, okay, I think that's decent. And they send it back to their manager for that coaching session. So they're practicing. That's one reason why it's much better. They're not just learning, they're practicing. And then it's like you said, it's the coaching. So instead of having to be there listening live to these kind of high pressure, coaching situations, the reps recording it on their own time, they're mastering it, when they feel good, then they submit it. And meanwhile, the manager then can watch and give feedback anytime they want, right? So it can be in the evening, it could be on a plane flight, we can do it offline.
Right.
And it's super simple for them to coach. So as they're watching the video and listening, at any time, we've got this patented point in time feedback. It's pretty cool. Anytime, they just stop it and can either type or record or voice, some coaching. Say, hey, John, that was great, but you're doing that funny thing with your tongue that you sometimes do. You got to stop doing that. Right? And it's right there in that time. It's not like they get all this coaching feedback at the end of the video and they got to rewind to 2 minutes and 13 seconds. It's right there in time. So the coaching, the practice, and then the reinforcement. Boot camp's over, 2 weeks are done. Instead of just, never really getting exposed to that stuff again, and the memory starts to degrade thanks to the forgetting curve, we give them little mobile flashcards. It's only 2 or 3 minutes a day, and they're kind of like flashcards on your mobile phone and your computer, but it's reinforcing those key concepts that they learned, and it doesn't take very much to move that new knowledge into long-term memory where it's there and can get utilized when a rep's on a call and gets that question, right? Instead of, oh God, I know I got taught an answer and you're waiting. It's right there because it's in long-term memory. So
and sales management can track when the reps are actually using those flashcards and what kind of score they're getting on those. Yeah. Yeah,
it's pretty neat for managers because so let's say you're the manager of that ADR team. There's a lot of visibility into who's mastered what or who's struggling with what. So maybe you do the onboarding program and you realize, look, the whole class is struggling with the competitive component. Maybe I should give them another class or give them another assignment on competitive if everyone's, or maybe there's just 1 or 2 reps are struggling with 1 or 2 piece of it. You can really target a little bit of additional help for those reps, as well as having the confidence that, the team's pretty much there. And so, you're going to have a lot more confidence that they're going to hit those MQL goals, those meeting set goals, because you're going to address any potential issues before it shows up in the numbers.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we're just about out of time, Andrew. Thanks very much for this, very detailed view of Allego, the sales learning platform. What's the best way for interested parties to take a better look at the platform?
Yeah, I'd say pretty much just like everything, go to allego.com, Allego.
All right, sounds great. So that's Andrew Hally. He's the CMO of Allego, and thanks very much for joining us today, Andrew, on the Martech Minute.
Thanks, Colin. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us on the Martech Minute. If you'd like to learn more about the Allego sales learning platform, visit their website at www.allego.com. Thanks again, and we hope to see you soon on another Martech Minute.